This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports and Chaco. It's fight week in Belfast, and what better way to start fight week by landing at MHD Promotions and excitement building, Mark?
Yes, it's very exciting. It's obviously a full week, full schedule ahead. It's going to be full on. Obviously, fighters are riding, all the last minute hitches, a few on the way that we'll talk about, and busy week, and looking forward to a very exciting night on Saturday night.
This is obviously your fourth show of the year. We're obviously going to touch on your fifth show towards the end of the interview, but I guess, we sort of spoke before, and obviously COVID and everything else, you weren't able to sort of flex your muscles and show what you can do, but fourth show of the year, and I guess probably starting from the top of the card, we always call you the Magic Man. You've delivered. Obviously, when you signed Eric Donovan, you probably had promised you should deliver him, but you've delivered him his European dream. And I guess probably now on Saturday night, it's him obviously showing his worth and obviously landing the bout for you.
Yes, as I say, whenever Eric signed with me, he said he wanted to be in big fights. He wanted to create a legacy for himself, and his ultimate goal was to fight for, a major European title fight of some description, and obviously win it. So we've worked hard to get him into position. He's had a couple of big fights that he lost along the way. One was to the current European champion, Selva Barrett, who's obviously vacated the title now, and the other one was to Treacy Ramirez. Obviously, guy's unbelievable. He took his chance, rolled the dice, didn't go his way, and he's worked very, very hard. He's listened to the advice he's been given, and he's got himself back into contention. He's one fight away from, not only fulfilling his dreams, but also put himself on a serious platform of opportunities.
He's sort of been all goes since his last fight. Obviously the day after his last fight, he went to do the Ultimate Hell Week, I think it's called, and down south, and it's obviously airing in RT at the moment. So what a better time, obviously, I guess, and sort of building the profile off the back end of that with obviously him becoming European champion. I guess it's probably going to show that you're never too old to obviously keep following your dreams.
No, like as I say, he lives a clean life now. He's always fit. He's always in shape. So he'd been planning to do this Hell Week series for a long time, but every time that he was meant to go in, a major fight opportunity came, and obviously, first and foremost, he's a professional boxer, and that's his dream. So that's the road the path he chose, and then it came again, but also it came in line with obviously our fight week of that week, and. I had to more or less, didn't have to push him. He knew what was happening. He had a fight. He wasn't worried. He just wanted to fight, and then the next morning there was a car there to take him to I think it was Cork to film the show. So he's doing well on the show. It's on every week. It's getting huge numbers down there, which will drive huge numbers to TG Cara, who are our broadcasters for the next event, and it will drive them. It'll drive obviously viewers to them, and if we get good viewing, then obviously we'll go again.
That's what I'm just sort of going to touch on. Obviously, it's like a trial period. Obviously, I guess it's your first time working with TG Cahir. Yeah. Obviously, Eric's obviously done RT punditry before and stuff like that as well. So it's sort of like I guess TG4 obviously wanted to get big in the major boxing again, and probably what better person to get involved with. Obviously, you're the Magic Man, and everybody believes you're the Magic Man because you delivered for so many fighters. Obviously, I see a picture in the background. Ronnie Clark, you delivered him a European Championship. Paul Hyland, you delivered him obviously a European adventure. James Hyland, obviously world titles. You delivered for your fighters, and I guess probably no better front man for TG4 to get involved with. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes right and they get the viewer numbers there, but they probably picked the perfect person to come involved with.
Well, I don't know about the Magic Man, but I do work hard for the fighters, as you know, and I can open a lot of doors, and obviously I'm relentless in obtaining good opportunities for them, but ultimately I can't win the fights, which is something that they're made aware of whenever the opportunities arise. So and TG4 we're looking for someone obviously to work with. I'm going 10 years. I'm not like a fly by the night. So they approached me, along with a couple of other companies did approach me, as you know, and had a meeting with Eric, and we sat down and decided this was who he wanted to go with for this particular event. So that's what we've done.
Particularly, obviously, when it's Freeview as well. Obviously, you can pick it up on Sky, no problem. You can find it anywhere in the world. So, where some, using the zone as an example, obviously some countries you can't get it in. If there's people around the world that want to tune in and watch Eric or want to tune in and watch anybody else, it's a perfect platform to have a fight on.
Yes, that was one of the actual big draws. It means that everyone will get it's our 10th year, as you know, and it's nice to be able to produce this and for everyone to see, obviously local boxing. And it is available on their iPlayer anywhere in the world, any zone, to any boxing fan. So that's great. That was great for us, and the people, as I say, don't have to pay for it. Now, as you know, as I say, the show sold out, and so the atmosphere is going to be unbelievable, and it's going to be unbelievable for the viewers.
I think obviously for anybody maybe hasn't, people still discredit small hall boxing, but I think if people haven't been to any of your shows in the Europa Hotel, they've seriously missed out, because you even imagine obviously the Graham McCormick, Dominic Donegan fight. Like, I've never seen an atmosphere for a main event, so rowdy, and that's what you want from boxing. Sometimes you could go to the SSE or other venues and it's flat until you get to the main event. Whereas with obviously what you deliver in the Europa Hotel, you deliver really good fights, you give people value for money. And I guess, it's testament in the show itself that obviously it was sold out a couple of weeks ago. And I guess, it's proofs in the pudding that you keep delivering for fighters, keep giving them their dreams, keep giving good fights. And that's ultimately what everybody wants, isn't it?
Well, it's important if you're a professional boxer that you be active and get regular fights. So, I've promoted all over Belfast, as you know, over the years. And, I find that the Europa ticks all the boxes. Every seat is really like if you go to, say, the SSA Arena, it's fantastic if you've got the right fight and you can get 9,000 people in there. That's amazing, that's unbelievable, but it's the same fight, it's the same fight and the same fighters, so you're going to get a better chance to look at them on a small hall show. And that's the only thing, as you say, like Colin Murphy there, they boxed when he boxed Rudy Farrell. The box is 6:30. They sold a load of tickets, and there was hardly a centre in there, bar the ones that had sold tickets to. A lot of people missed out on that. That was streamed, on a channel. But ultimately, like, you want the rage and atmosphere, because the atmosphere is everything. For driving fighters on, and I'm really, really, looking forward to, Saturday night and what the atmosphere is going to be like in there. It's going to be great for everybody. As I say, everyone. 99% of the boxers in Northern Ireland or Ireland have boxed in my shows, and what I'm saying is they've all went on to do great things, and that's what I'm in this for. It's very, very enjoyable to watch them grow, and if they're good enough they'll do it, and if they're not they won't. They'll all find their level, and they're going to have some great memories and some great nights, and we all will, because obviously without me doing this, you wouldn't have no one to talk to. Let's be honest, because it's all right saying I'll do the Odyssey, or I'll do the Ulster Horror, I'll do, the what's that big the exhibition centre down at the Titanic.
Yeah,
it's all right doing all them things, but you need to have the right fights and get the punters in. So that's like stepping stones for my fighters. Whenever they get up there, if they're good enough, then we'll go to the bigger venues.
Obviously going back and obviously speaking about levels and things like that, Tommy McCarthy's obviously back. He's obviously been doing a bit of stand-up and stuff recently, and I think it's sort of seemed to take off for him. He obviously, I think, ideally wanted him to be in a bigger fight at this stage, but obviously the British board didn't obviously deem his fight in Estonia as obviously worthy enough. He's got a good test on Saturday night. Obviously, his opponent, Rainis Progoris. I'm terrible with names, but obviously he's won a sort of tournament, and I think in Latvia there recently. It's a really good test for Tommy on Saturday night.
Well, it was nothing to do with the British board. They're happy to get, for any British fighter to be out and getting regular work. And as I say, it just wasn't, it was in talks for Tommy to get a world title shot, believe it or not. But on the strength of the last opponent, it wasn't enough for this particular governing body. So, made no difference that the guy who was meant to fight for that particular opportunity still hasn't fought. Now, who knows what this fight will bring for Tommy. Tommy's right in the mixer. He's in the top 20 in the world. So, if he puts on a good performance, I'm always working, always looking for opportunities for Tommy. And the main thing is I'll know his worth now, because trying to get Tommy match was extremely hard. and extremely expensive. And for the bigger guys, that's the way it is. So equally, whenever the door wraps for me, I'll be looking for the right money for Tommy, and we'll get it, because I know that, while there's maybe quite a few cruiserweights out there, there's very few like Tommy McCarthy who's willing to fight anybody. Tommy is a true fighting man, and I take my hat off to him. He's never refused to fight in his life. So, a lot of these guys with their padded records, the one thing Tommy McCarthy hasn't got is a padded record. So yeah, he'll do well.
I guess obviously bringing his stand-up into it as well, obviously maybe be able to tell jokes in certain fights and stuff as well, although he probably wouldn't be allowed to, but I guess if you were going back to the Muhammad Ali sort of thing, he'd have been the one firing out jokes in his fighting, but I guess, Tommy obviously recently, I guess he obviously come short to Chris Smith, probably disappointed himself, so he's probably out in Saturday to put a point to prove that obviously that dangling card of a potential world title's there, if obviously he can just get himself back to the level he needs to be to get that opportunity.
Like, let's be straight, Tommy's no joker at all. He likes the limelight, he's got charisma, he's got a lot of things going for him, and he's a great fighter. So, he took fights that other people won't take, and, he lost. I thought he won the first Smith fight. The second fight just didn't go his way. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, it's been well documented. What I'm saying to you is, Tommy McCarthy will be back, and he'll be a champion again, there's no doubt about that, and he will fight for a world title before he hangs his gloves up, and I'll make sure of that. Obviously,
moving on to the next one, I guess it's probably the one that probably excites me the most in the card. Finally, obviously, your signing from about 2 years ago is obviously going to make his debut, Conor Quinn, under yourself. Obviously, it's going to be his third pro fight, but he's 2-0 with 2 knockouts, obviously, in Australia. D. Walsh obviously hasn't, every time I spoke to D, it's like, can't wait to see Conor in action, can't wait to see Conor in action. He's obviously said whenever you first signed him as well that it can be pushed very, very quickly. How excited are you to see now finally obviously Conor in action and get to see, I guess, what you signed him for initially?
Well, I'm very, very excited. The wee lad has been to hell and back, and anyone that showed that dedication, I'm going to give everything to, and I will do. I don't want to put pressure on the lad. I'm just happy to see him back in the ring. We'll get this out of the way. The guy he's fighting is no mug, and I'm not interested in keeping up a 100% knockout record. I'm interested in getting rounds and getting ready for the next, chapter of his career. Yes, he had 2 fights a long time ago, but they weren't against the best of opposition either way. So, it's a cool. This is like his debut on Saturday night. Let's be honest. So he's going to have a great crowd there. He's done loads of tickets, and he's actually stopped selling tickets ages ago. To be honest, I've told him to, and I'm very, very excited and watching what I more or less like. It's almost like his debut, so it'll be very, very good. And he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody, because what he's been doing for the past 2 years has proved enough to me and the people around me to know that this kid wants it more than I've ever seen in my life.
Is that what you sort of want sometimes in a fighter, obviously, when you see that someone's had, the uncertainty and obviously the career and whether he may even box again, where he's been in the gym twice a day, he's been doing a strength and conditioning, he's been doing everything the right way, that now when he gets into the ring on Saturday, it's as if he'll get into the ring on Saturday night and you'll go, maybe a wee bit rusty, but there'll probably be no ring rust on him whatsoever because he's just that dedicated to the sport.
Honestly, I'm under no illusions of what he will be and what he won't be. I'm just delighted that he's going to get his opportunity to box in front of his home crowd, and he's able to box again. As I said just a second ago, his dedication has been colossal, and believe me, if it turns out very good, if he wins and he wins well, then we'll just take it easy step by step. But yeah, no, I'm very, very excited. And as I say, his dedication is unbelievable, and he's had to go through more than any people would ever do in their lives just to get in the ring next week. So, I'm on there. He's been well warned. There's no pressure to go out and enjoy it. And I'd be delighted for him to get 6 rounds in because he's been out so long. But yeah, let's just see how next Saturday goes for him.
I guess when you sort of look at the model, obviously you have with Colin Murphy, I guess obviously it's probably a similar mould you'll have with Conor Quinn, and obviously the fact that you'll match him well, that at good levels to obviously see how quickly you can progress him. Obviously Colm's flew through his first 5 fights as well, so probably nearly a similar mould you'll have with Conor. Keep him active, keep him busy. I think he said he'd fight every week if you get him a fight.
Well, there's a chance he could be out again in October, and he's definitely out in November. As I say, with I like a Colm, he's a good kid, but whenever they join me and they want to go all the way, I know every kid says they want to go all the way, but like in reality, like it's not going to happen for everybody. So it's my job to prepare them for the next step. It's all about steps. Now you seen what happened to the guy that on Saturday night that fought, that Colm fought. I think it was third fight. Brian Moreno. He knocked out a Frank Warren prospect in about.
I think it was the fourth round.
Fourth round, but that kid had nine fights undefeated, and everyone was getting excited about him. And I just said, look, everybody calm down. Moreno has still lost 30 times. He's a good tough journeyman, but the reality of it is the guy who he beat hadn't fought nobody yet.
Mm-hmm.
He was 9-0, and that was his first serious test, and he failed it. So it's my job as a good manager to get the lads, the experience early on, so that whenever they do go across the water and they do go on TV, that they give a good account of themselves, and that's what good management is all about, is getting kids ready for the next step.
Moving on, obviously, the next fight, obviously, is a Cavan clash. I guess probably whenever it was initially made, I was thinking Dominic Donegan, because there was the whole thing with Owen Neill and Dominic Donegan towards the end of last year. The fight then had ended up in an exhibition. Owen's obviously Owen Neill's moved down in weight. Dominic Donegan and Owen Duffy are from the same town in Cavan. I guess obviously it ended up being an easy fight to make, but probably the one thing I probably would say is the only probably negative thing, I wouldn't really say it's a negative, but it'd been great to have it as a title fight.
Well, excuse me, I tried to make that, originally when we discussed that, I tried to get that for a Celtic title. The BUI wouldn't sanction it. The reason was, that obviously that the opponent that I think Duffy had fought last wasn't good enough or something. I don't know, whatever the reason was, I just accepted it. But in reality, when two Irish kids fight each other, I always say it should be for a title, because there's not enough fighters. There's not enough to match locally. It's very, very rare you can get two lads to fight each other unless it's for a title. So they all deserve it. And it's nothing to do with, who's better, who's worse, or titles. What I'm saying is there's just not enough professional boxers or professional boxing on the island of Ireland to match them together every time. Yes, people want to see it, but in reality it's it can't be done because, as I say, there's not enough of them, and how many flyweights is there, how many welters, all that. So it's only right that they build up and then obviously they meet each other for a title. So I was very disappointed, whenever these two lads both had similar records, weren't allowed to box each other for whatever reason. I know with the British board, if you've got two fighters are both licensed holders, then there's no issues with them fighting each other. So whenever I said to Owen, and Dom that there'd be no title at stake, they says, well, look, let's fight each other still anyway. And that's just them sort of guys I want to be looking after. The guys that's like, they've both lost, so they've nothing to protect. They just want to know who's the best in cabin. And it's going to be such a good fight. And to be honest with you, one day, I think, because obviously I've signed, Owen. Is this too soon for Owen? Because although Dom has a similar record, he's definitely got more experience. And back and forward. So I can honestly say I have no idea who's going to win that fight. So it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be so exciting for all the viewers there, and the atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. And it's going to be great for the TV viewers.
I think it's similar probably in a way to Graham McCormick and obviously Dominic. Obviously, it was similar. I remember obviously at the weigh-in day you were going, Graham looks a wee bit tight at the weight and things like that, and you're going, maybe is Dom going to upset because obviously he's in bad form. Dominic's obviously went and he's now training with Daniel Anderson, who had a win over Owen Duffy in the amateurs. So obviously he's hanging on to the hope that Dan Anderson knows how to beat him. Dan Anderson has corner. Paddy Gall's in the corner as well. So it seems like a revigored Dominic Donegan's going to come in on Saturday night. And I guess the thing is, it's bragging rights. It's probably more so than a belt. Sometimes it's the bragging rights in Cavan who can hold their head high in the street and go, I won.
Yes, all said and done, but unfortunately Dan Anderson's not the one fighting, Owen Duffy. And equally, Frick McMahon is a very, very, very good coach. And as I say, he got his wife a WBC title out in Africa or somewhere like that. There, the guy, they've sat tight-lipped. They've got their own plan. So that's what makes it more and more intriguing. So I'm just excited for this one. I can't wait. It's going to be great, and may the best man win, because obviously, the winner and the loser are back out again. I've always got room for them.
I think Owen Duffy was saying that obviously people train with him, and obviously people's been training with Dominic, and half the family of one's been buying tickets off Owen, and the other half's been buying tickets off Dominic, and obviously Owen's going, if you want to get them off him, that's fine. Yeah. But they've sort of like drew a line down the middle of the cabin going, if you live in this part, you're getting tickets from me. It's a rivalry, but I guess, as I say, the only bad thing is that there's not a bill on the line, but both lads won't care come first bell on Saturday night.
No, that's it. As I say, it's just going to be, it's bragging rights, isn't it? So, and the BI will be up there, and hopefully they'll watch it, and, and if it's a good fight, they'll maybe let them fight next time for a title. Who knows? So yeah, no, and as I say, as far as punters are going buying tickets, it really doesn't matter, because to be honest with you, Eric Donovan could have sold the show out himself. I had to take tickets off Eric to give to other people, so that's why there's no pressure, for tickets on this show. It's just down to it's still show sold out now, as you know, so it's down to just a good night of boxing. No pressure. All the money's in. There's no pressure whatsoever. I think there's 4 tickets or something online. Just we're hand me backs from Eddie Treacy having to pull off.
That's probably the one disappointment. Obviously, I'm very friendly with Eddie, and obviously I've spoke to him quite a bit. Obviously Eddie having to come off the card, and I guess it's with any show, I guess with boxing and everything else, you're going to get these sort of, you always plan sort of maybe one fight come off, but I'm sure you're obviously devastated because you want to obviously get your new signing Eddie out and get him on action, and obviously it was looking like a good fight as well.
It was a very good fight. Jay McCarthy, he was devastated whenever he got the call that the fight was off, and I'd done everything I could to get him on, get on the card, but it didn't, it didn't materialise for the kid, and as I say, with Eddie, it was very disappointing. Part of his medical that wouldn't be cleared up in time. We were told in advance. So rather than hang on in and hope, and then obviously Jay McCarthy arrives over here and he's not fighting. No, it's devastating. So we had to make the call a week out, and we've done that. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. And until Eddie earns out the couple of issues that his medicals need done, he has to just sit on hold for them. And we tried to get Jay a fight, but it didn't work out that way.
And I guess obviously, fingers crossed Eddie does get back in the action soon. Obviously the last fight in the card, I guess there's been a bit of a change. Obviously Owen and Neill was initially supposed to fight Martin Quinn. What's happened with that fight?
So yeah, that was really, really devastating for all concerned. Basically, the fight was made. The British Boxing Board approved the contest over 6 rounds. Obviously, Owen's coming down from light middle to welterweight, and everything was all set. Everything was all good to go, and then the BI had made a decision that they would only let Martin Quinn do a 4-round contest on the show, and everything was made for a 6-round contest, and both guys sat down. They are friends, so there's no issue. Says, look, we think that we're worth more than 4 rounds. So I fully get it. None of the guys wanted to fight each other for a 4-round contest. So, the reason, I don't know what the reason, to be honest with you, I'm not even going to get into that there. It was just devastating for all concerned. So, obviously, Dan Martin's sponsors as well had pulled out of the sponsorship because 1 minute he was in an All Ireland dust up, which was all over the news, to potentially fighting someone that it was nailed on to win. So we lost that contest, which was devastating completely for all the lads, I have to say, because they were both worked really hard, and everyone was really looking forward to that contest. So that was gone. So I managed to secure his former Scottish champion for Owen O'Neill. So it's a step up for him again. And this is his 9th contest. So he's fighting a former Scottish champion, Marek Lewiski, who's from Polish descent, but from Aberdeen, obviously Scottish through and through. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one for Owen, and but I think he's ready for the next wee test. As I say, he was full on for Marty Quinn, so he's been training like a dog. The weight's been coming down, you know, and I think you'll see, you know, a different fighter for, you know, Owen O'Neill.
I guess obviously the gym's probably in a buzz, you know. In Glean, obviously Paddy McCrory obviously announced last week obviously he's going to be fighting for the IBO light heavyweight belt in Germany. There's such a buzz in the gym there that obviously, you know, Conor's obviously getting back. India's obviously his first fight after being out. I guess everybody's going to feed off that energy as well, so it's maybe going to add a wee bit extra into Owen and Conor coming up, knowing that someone that's been in the gym working hard as much as they have is getting his opportunity in the big time now. And it's, you know, I've sort of ranted and raved a bit, Leanne, in a while that whatever's happening in that gym, whatever the water they're drinking, it just seems to be that they're just of a different nature. And I guess Owen keeps showing improvements. Obviously his last fight, I believe, was probably his best fight as a pro so far. He's coming down in weight as well, so I guess that shows. I think he was actually saying that you're like a drill sergeant to him. You're obviously keeping him in plan, in place, and this is probably why he's probably enjoying boxing probably more now than he's ever done.
Well, I don't want to see any kid fighting at the wrong weight. You know, that's the bottom line of it all, because you're not going to see the true fighter. And you know, he's had issues with his weight, you know, for a long time, and he's obviously been chipping away and it's coming down rightly. And you know, to be honest with you, that's just I don't even talk about going down past welterweight until we see how he performs at welterweight. Mm-hmm. So I believe he's a super lightweight, you know, and so does Manny around him. But it's obviously it's a strict diet to get down that, to do that. But you know, this is the job you're in, and so it's a weight driven sport. So like, you have to be able to do the weight, and we'll just see how he does this year. As far as the gym's concerned, you know, like, you know, the gym's full of fighters, and he's doing a good job. Or he has a few of my lads in there, but I've got other fighters with other trainers. I've got my own gym, as you know, and they're all doing brilliant jobs. So, you know, every gym has a wee go, has a wee time when they're doing well, and like to say, that fight for Paddy McCrory actually sent Jamie a message on Paddy, like, that's a brilliant fight for him. I'm really, really, really delighted for him. He's a gentleman, and yeah, I don't know, like, you know, if I had the time, I'd be over to watch that myself. You know, really, really delighted for him. He's got a great opportunity, and you know, he's another one, keeps his head down, says nothing, and just waiting on his opportunity. And when it comes, I believe he'll win that fight.
We've obviously, over the next 4 or 5 weeks, we've obviously 3 fighting for IBO belts. We've obviously Anto Kakachi obviously fighting on Saturday night, same night as obviously your show in Manchester. You obviously then Dennis Hogan in Australia obviously fighting Sam Egginton, and then finishing off with Paddy. So we've sort of had the 3 years sort of a call of going who's going to be next. And obviously now potentially we look at, we could have 3 in a month. Is that going to be massive? Is that, I guess it's being ready, and that conveyor belt's just been continually building. But obviously, particularly more so for you, but obviously the smaller hall shows, and it's preparing people for these opportunities. James Tennyson was probably your more high profile one, where you came through the small hall circuit and built up. That now these guys have done the same thing, and they're getting the opportunities where a lot more is going to dream of that as well.
Well, again, it doesn't matter the size of the venue, because the fight is the fight. So I'd rather, as I said earlier on, I'd rather hire a big venue for once a year. I'd rather hire a small venue 4 times a year, 5 times a year, and get my fighters continually climbing the ladder and learning fights and title fights. It doesn't really matter. You know, the venue doesn't matter. A boxing ring is a boxing ring. You stick it in my back garden, you know, like
Eddie Hearn style.
You'll still get the same fight. So the venue is nothing to do with where the guys come from. The wall, as long as they're getting regular fights, you know, and climbing up the rankings and learning from each fight, then the world is their oyster when they get there. So it's the same for every stable. You know, like Jamie Conlon's stable, you know, like, you know, Eddie Hearn's stable, everybody, they're all doing the same thing, which is, we all are, and I've been doing it for 10 years, is getting regular fights. And then when they get up the rankings and we feel they're ready to have a go, then you let them off the leash, and they're either good enough or they're not good enough. You know, that's just boxing. You can't actually get in the ring, roll your sleeves up and do it for them. They have to show the dedication, skill, everything, and then a bit of luck. And who knows? That's the bottom line of boxing, like, really.
Definitely is. And obviously the card on Saturday night's obviously got 5 fights scheduled at the moment. Yeah. Do you have anything in mind for any potential add-ons to the card?
Well, as I say, I've lost 2 fights, as you know, which was the 2 fights, which is, one was a floater and one was a reserve. The 5 fights that are on there now are very good competitive fights and good for TV, so it'll be very exciting. But I'll maybe have 1 or 2 more, that could slip in there. I'm just waiting to see. The problem obviously we have is, like, obviously, it's a bank holiday today for the Queen and her funeral, and everything's shut down, so it's trying to get everything in the last few days. I'm still phoning around, trying to get a couple of lads fights. The young lad, Gerard Hughes, talking to his manager, he's busting to get on. Edward Donovan's manager's trying to get him on. I might put on like Campbell. I'm just trying to I should have 1 more fight at least on. So yeah, we'll see what's happening there.
And obviously now kicking on to your 25th show, we've obviously announced yesterday that obviously Colin Murphy and Liam Gaynor obviously going to fight for Colm's BUI Celtic title 22nd of November.
26th of November. 26th of November. That's the last show. I had 2 dates. I have the 22nd of October and the 26th of November, but I've let the 22nd of October go because it's just too soon to the last show. Again, I'm trying to get all the lads out one more time before Christmas, and I can't really announce the whole undercard until I see how this show goes, but certainly the fight that I've got, one of the headline fights, which is Colm for Liam Gaynor, is very, very exciting. Liam and his team, Alex, you obviously heard me on the phone early on, they're game for it, their game as a badger, they're up for it, and the kid feels, as I say, he's at that stage where they want to let him go and see how good he is. Liam wants to know how good he is, and Colin has been very active over the past year, so he's be his 6th contest, and obviously he won a close fight against Rudy Farrell, so Rudy's on that card as well. He'll definitely be on that card, and just want to see, it's a good fight. It's a good fight for everyone. No north and south, and one's in Manchester. There'll be some good fighters on out there, and I'll definitely have Conor Quinn will definitely on it, and possibly a couple of other lads that I've signed that I haven't announced that I've signed yet. But as I say, it's early days.
Liam Gaynor, obviously, it's he's 9-0-1. I think he's one defeat, but he's obviously been in with steady lads like Brad Fido and things like that. He's learned his trade very well, similar to obviously what Colm's doing. Yeah. So probably, I guess the question is there the potential of obviously having the Irish title? Obviously, what's the stipulations with the BUI for the Irish title?
So a few years ago, the BUI again made some new rulings where that used to be, as long as you were Irish, you could fight for the Irish title. So now they're saying you have to be an Irish licence holder. Obviously, we're always saying you have to do, qualify by doing an 8-rounder, which is 100%. I'm happy with that. But since they've changed the having to be a different licence holder, it's really put the brakes on Irish title fights, because while it's good for the Boxing Union of Ireland and it's good for Irish boxers who are with that affiliation, obviously, like, a lot of people would have to give up aiming for like the British title, which is like, obviously they're good titles for earning money, and like, I love the Irish title. I have quite a few champions over the years, but now the criteria has changed. It's very, very hard. So even if, unless Liam was to go for an Irish licence, because he's living in Manchester, and he's got a British Boxing Board licence, he'd have to give that back, get an Irish licence, hold it for a certain amount of time, and then do an 8-rounder. It's all it's too much. So I think that hopefully the BI sit down soon, have a look and see, is this working for us or is it not? And if it is and they're happy, it's brilliant. If it's not, it'd be nice to see people fighting for Irish titles again.
I think the last one was Joe Fitzpatrick and Gary Cully, obviously, and look where Gary Cully's obviously went since. He sort of, I think there's potentially an Irish title before the end of this year. But the natural progression, obviously, for Colm was then they go Celtic Irish.
Yeah.
And obviously it seems like unless you have someone else that's got an Irish licence, and there's not a lot of featherweights there as well, so you're nearly sort of struggling going, well, you have to hope that somebody else will take the fight, and then they maybe want more money out of it because they know they're the only option.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's getting back to what I said. There's not enough people, boxing, not enough professional boxers from Ireland, to make all these fights. So when you do get two lads willing to, and experienced enough and willing to fight for each other, it should be 100% for a title, because that's the only way, Irish boxing is going to go forward. Because, as I say, the Irish title is a very prestigious title in my eyes, but, the British title, the European title, they're all at a different level and different money grade, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's unfortunately that's just the way it is, and that's their rules, and rules are rules, and we just have to just get on with it. But it is, as I say, I know a lot of lads that have left because there was no opportunities there because of stipulations and rules. So hopefully someday, they'll relax. They'll relax again the criteria for fighting for an Irish title, and who knows what.
I guess for some people it's their dream. They obviously fight for an Irish title, and if it gets to the point where they're going, we'll have to wait for someone else to get there, they maybe just bypass it and go somewhere else. So people might lose out their dream in fighting for an Irish title because the stipulations are someone must have an 8-rounder, they must have an Irish licence and stuff like that as well. So it nearly sort of eliminates some out and going, you're not going to fight for it.
I know it is. It's so say you can be English champion, and then fight for a British or a Celtic, but the Irish title, and if you're with the the BUI, you can still fight. The British have relaxed their rules that you can still fight for one of their Celtic titles. Mm. But unfortunately, the BUI haven't relaxed theirs, where if you're a British licence holder and you're of Irish descent, then they still won't let you box for their title. It is what it is. It's frustrating, but
something has to give somewhere with it.
I know. So as I say, for two people to get into contention, it's a very, very, for the fight for the Irish title, it's very, very, very hard just to get two lads the same weight, same sort of experience, have the same licences, have qualified for the 8-rounders and done all the things that's required. It's very, very hard, because there's not enough boxers, and rightly so, because there's not enough. It's not big enough to have, the amount of people living in Ireland, the amount of people living in London. That's why the shows on London every week, and they're sold out because it's such a big population. But we haven't got that, so that should be taken into account. And I think every other promoter would agree with me on that there.
Definitely. It's obviously, hopefully the BUA obviously sort of look at something and relaxing it, because at the end of the day, if you give people more a dream of landing an Irish title, for some that's their dream as a professional boxer, is land an Irish title and then see where it can go. If you obviously make the restrictions in that way, it limits it out. But tickets go on sale pretty much this Sunday, so after the show then as well. I guess obviously in terms of TV, there's obviously Saturday night depend on obviously how things go to whether they may come back and do that show as well.
No, because it has to be appealing. Like Eric's fighting for a major title. Now, let's get this right. Eric got great sponsorship for this contest to have the home advantage. He could have got paid a lot more, but his opponent's getting paid and went away to France and do it. But Eric's went for the opportunity, not the money. So it's hard to get a big title fight. So unless a TV company's willing to throw money in to put on major title fights, then it's not going to happen. But I'm happy for them to to film shows and let the public see that. But it won't be at a it won't be at like that level of a title until they start actually putting money in, more money into because the production costs are crazy. The stuff that this is costing is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But it's going to be a fantastic night. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be unbelievable, and it's going to be very memorable.
Definitely is. Well, look, obviously not take out any more of your time because obviously know it's going to be a busy week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you do get a fight or so over the line. But obviously, I'm sure we'll see you on Friday at the weigh-in.
Yes.
And obviously, we'll look forward to Saturday night. And obviously, for anybody that's watching this interview, it's not getting to the fights, tune in to TG4. We'll obviously put up a link closer to the time so you can tune in and watch a great night of boxing. But thanks very much for your time, Mark.
Thanks very much, Steve. Cheers.